Yo, so what's going on, y'all? Bank of America just unveiled an incredible loan product. I talked about it on my social media already. I'm uploading the video for YouTube now. This loan program is going to change the game for a lot of people. Bank of America is calling it the Community Affordable Loan Solution. And I think that's a very appropriate name for this because it does aim to have a solution, which is to help bridge the wealth gap that we see between minority communities and predominantly white communities. Look, whatever your political affiliations are, throw that out the window. I'll talk about stuff like that on my social media as well, but this video is strictly to talk about the zero down payment, the no PMI, the no minimum credit score, that is required, or those things lack thereof being required in order to get into a home. So I spent 2 hours and 54 minutes. I spent nearly 3 hours on hold to speak to one incorrect representative that they then transferred me over to another person who ultimately was able to give me all of the answers to the questions that I had, and a lot of questions that I think a lot of people are going to have in regards to this solution in the first place. So of course, zero money down, self-explanatory. You don't have to put any money down. Typically, in order to acquire a house, you have to put anywhere between 3.5 to 10 to even 20% of the purchase price of the property in order to acquire the real estate. With this program, you don't have to come down with any, you don't have to have any down payment. Even people who have FHA loans where they only had to put down 3.5%, they still have to pay PMI. Now, to some people, the PMI is not a big deal. It's a few $100, $100, $200, maybe a few $100. It's not extremely expensive, but for some people who where money is tight, that $200 could really matter. This product rivals the VA loan, and the reason why I would say it's better is because you didn't have to serve in the military in order to get this loan, whereas people like myself and my friends, we all had to serve in the military in order to acquire. Zero money down, no down payment, no PMI. Now, this is the part that edges the VA loan, is because your closing costs are covered up to $10,000 or 3% of the purchase price. This is what I'm hearing. The person on the phone did say that closing costs would not matter. And to most people, when you're closing on a house, this is how I feel about it. If you're closing on a house where you need a program like this, typically your closing costs shouldn't exceed $10,000. So to get up to 3% of the purchase price or up to $10,000 to cover your closing costs, that's incredible. We are starting to see a market shift where buyers are having a little bit of an edge. But when I bought my house back in 2019, beginning of 2019, my sellers covered my closing costs. You aren't really seeing that too much in our current market. The hotness of the market, so to speak, is kind of evening out. I definitely wanted to hit those key points. No down payment, no PMI, your closing costs are covered. All right, so there is one question where I spoke to the lending person about, and this is how the process works. Before you can even identify a house and say, I want that house, I want to put no money down, I want to acquire that property. That's not exactly how this process works. First, you have to be admitted into their home buyer program, which I think is smart. Because here's what you're going to see on the internet, and you're going to see in comment sections. You're going to see, and I've already seen it in on my TikTok side of the house. People are already saying this is a scam. You know, what about 2008? You know, they're loosening regulations. This is 2008 2.0. That is not the case, and this is why. One, because lending regulations are still incredibly tight. There's so much red tape. A bank cannot literally just give you a loan without verifying your income, first and foremost. When you reach out to Bank of America, strictly just let them know, hey, I'm interested in buying a house. I'm interested in your new community program, your community affordable loan solution. I literally had to write it down. For some reason, I cannot remember community affordable loan solution. I can't, it just won't stick. Now, once you've gone through their educational real estate portion, then what they'll do is they'll already have an understanding of what you're qualified for. So now you understand, okay, I qualify for a $500,000 house, or $600,000, $700,000, or $300,000, $400,000 house, whatever the case may be. The great thing about this is the no credit check part. No credit. There is a credit check. Let me be specific. Let me not mess that up. There is a credit check. The great thing about this that I left out at the beginning of the video is there's no minimum credit score requirement, which, if you ask me personally, if you ask me, there shouldn't be there shouldn't even be there shouldn't be a minimum credit score, period, for anything. It should be, the way this is structured is literally how all lending should be. What is your payment history? All right, what is your rental payment history? Have you paid all of your credit cards on time? Do you have one missed payment, a couple here? That is how it should be. So honestly, this is geared towards the minority community, but this is literally how the whole thing should work. So there's no minimum credit score. However, they are going to check your credit, again, with some of the things I just mentioned. They're going to check your rental history. If you have a car, they're going to check to see, do you pay your car payments on time? If you have owned a home in the past, they'll check to see if you missed any late payments. So they're definitely checking your credit, but they're more so focused on how responsible are you, or have you been, with your credit. Another item that I did ask about was the home ownership part. What did they constitute new home ownership? Did it literally just have to be, this is your first purchase ever? That is not the case. Well, that one. Two, it also means if you have not owned a property in the last 3 years. If you haven't owned in 3 years, then you are considered first-time home buyer again. I did ask, what if you bought a property and then you moved, because you wanted it, and now it's a rental, and now you live somewhere else and you've been out of there for over 3 years. She said, no, that doesn't count. You must not own any real estate. So basically, this would be the only thing that you would have. The one question that I did not get an answer to, how long do I have to stay in the house? If there is no predestined amount of time that you have to stay, one thing that I would recommend, yes, as a real estate agent in Southern California, I would recommend, if their documents come out and say there is no specified amount of time that you have to stay in this house, my advice to you is, in 3 years, when your house has accumulated equity, use that equity to buy property. Okay, last point. These are a couple of things I want you guys to take into consideration when it comes to understanding how you would be qualified, right? And I'm gonna divert my eyes to my computer because I did not memorize this. I'm really making this video on a whim, and I've got some notes on my laptop. So obviously, they're going to check your income. That is what I meant to say earlier in regards to the 2008 thing. They're going to verify your income. Back in 2008, they weren't verifying income, or they were fudging the numbers on people's income, and that's what helped create the 2008 crash. They are going to verify your income just to understand that you can even afford to live where you're trying to live. They want to see that you have multiple trade lines, a few credit cards, a car payment, obviously rental history. Those are things that they're going to want to look out for. They're going to want to not see any unpaid judgments. They don't want to see any tax liens or any collections. They don't want to see no payment 60 days or more past due, right? One payment 60 days or more past due. They don't want to see that. They also don't want to see any more than 2 30 days or more past due payments, right? So if you've been late 2 times, Past 30 days, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see any more than 2. And obviously no housing payments past due, but then they'll reference your rental history on that. And then the last question that I asked was how long are the pre-approvals that they give you valid for? And she said 90 days, which is a typical, pre-approval letter. All in all, I think this is an incredible product. I think this is going to be extremely beneficial for a lot of people. I'm really trying to convince my little brother to get onto this. You very clearly don't need to be rich in order to own a property in America. This is incentivizing people who are at the lower end of the spectrum in regards to finances. This is your way to get into a house. This is not a scam. At the end of the day, the bank wants to give you a mortgage that you can afford because over the life of the loan, they're going to collect interest. It does the bank no justice to give you, at the end of the day, if you want a $700,000 house and you have a $400,000 financial situation, you're not going to get the $700,000. That's not how this works. All right. But if you can afford a $500,000 mortgage or a $400,000 mortgage, they will approve you. And so what I want you to ask yourself is, what are you paying for your rent right now, right? Whatever your rent is, what is it? $1,500, $1,200, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000. What are you paying? I know in California, we're paying extremely crazy prices. I know friends of mine who are saying, I don't want to buy a house right now because it's expensive, but they're paying damn near the same thing at their apartment complex. Blows my mind. So what can you afford? And then just talk to these mortgage people. And this means, yes, let them run your credit. So many people get so scared when it comes to having their credit run. But you never check your credit. You only go to Credit Karma, which we all know Credit Karma is not as accurate as actually having your credit pulled. You can pull your credit report for free once a year, so you can check. Also, most people don't really use their credit aside from a credit card. So allow them to run your credit, point blank period. Your pre-approval is valid for 90 days anyways. So allow them to do their due diligence and understand, because at the end of the day, if you tell them, this is what I make, these are all my expenses, they can give you a pre-qualification and say, based on your words, this is what you could afford. But just allow them to pull your credit. That way they can tell you exactly what you can afford. Because once you get with a real estate agent, one of the most frustrating things is working with somebody. And it's not even frustrating, it is just frustrating. I'm not going to sugarcoat. It's frustrating because why would I spend my time and your time looking at houses that you can't afford? Now, I'm not saying don't dream. I'm not saying that. But if we're looking for a house that you want to buy, if you have a $500,000 budget, there's no reason for me to show you a $2.5 million house. That doesn't make sense because neither one of us are moving forward with that. So why do that? Unless it's just a Saturday, we want to go look at open houses because we're friends or whatever. That's fine. I'm cool with that. But let these people run your credit. This is like the 4th or 5th time. Let these people run your credit, understand what you're qualified for, and then go from there. All right, that's all I got for y'all today. I tried to keep this under 20 minutes. I did so. You're welcome. Schedule a time if you need to, like go on the Bank of America app or go into Bank of America or give them a call and say, hey, I would like to schedule a time to sit with a banker or a loan officer and ask these questions. They will give you the answers. At the end of the day, they're not there to sugarcoat. They're not there to hide anything because they want your business. So yeah, do that. I got nothing else for y'all.